Welcome to the Spiritual Connection Show. I'm your host, Katie Augustyn. So I'm a spiritual energy healer. I'm the spiritual head of the Transformation Center CT. I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm also a transformation coach. So I do a lot of different things here at the center. And we also offer workshops and trainings. We have different classes, we have shamanic clinics, we have a lot of different things throughout the day and the week. And right now, most of it is back online because of the pandemic. So we're doing our Zoom shamanic clinic, and that's the second Tuesday of each month. So you can check out everything. I'm going to put up our contact info here at the center, and then you can check that out. Here we go. So that's the website is transformationcenterct.com, and you can email us or call. We also do individual sessions for healings and also coaching. And we are doing some in person. It just, we follow all the protocols. So just contact us for that. All right. So most of you know about the Spiritual Connection Show, that it's all about connection. And it's really about, connecting with each other, as well as connecting with our own spiritual selves. And every week I have a different guest, and really the idea is for you to learn from each person that I have on. You're going to find out about their spiritual journey, what they're up to, what they have to offer you, and really just take away what works for you. So everybody can learn something every day. We're all beginners. All right, so I want to introduce my guest, and I'm going to put it on gallery view so we can see Lisa Crofton. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Hi, thanks for having me, Katie. This is
I'm really excited to see you again, even though I'm not in person yet. Zoom is a great way to do it. So I'm just going to read a little bit about you for our audience since they don't know you yet.
Sure.
So Lisa is an award-winning life and business coach. She's a mentor, an author, a speaker, and she specializes in powerful, permanent mindset shifts. I love the way you said that. And a lot of it is based on ancient Toltec wisdom, for agreements, and universal laws. Lisa provides programs and coaching, offering hope, reassurance, and foolproof life tools toward living a happy, healed, and satisfied life. Really just what we all really strive for. And so after years of building a successful coaching and teaching practice, Lisa now trains coaches in intuitive skill and organic marketing practices. So you too can learn from her, both as an individual and now if you want to learn how to be a coach and all about her marketing. She's going to tell you more about that in a minute. So welcome again to the show, Lisa. I'm so happy that you're here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I think that the more we can connect on a spiritual level with everybody who we serve or everybody that we know, we're gonna just shed the light a little bit more. And boy, do we all need that now. So yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's great. And the first question that I really like to ask my guest is, please tell us a little bit about your spiritual journey this far, like how you got to where you are, anything you want to share along those lines.
Yeah, it's a sort of a loaded question because when I look back at look at my current spirituality, what I relate it to is my level of awareness, self-awareness. And I think that, my spirituality in that context was sort of running in the background most of my life. I knew it was there. My inner voice was always trying to get my attention, but I just kept playing the roles I thought I was supposed to play in life. So I'd hear things and I'd feel things and I'd shrug them off and, I'd say that was weird. And, being able to intuit things that are about to happen, or understanding people when they tell me this much, I get this much, or trying to understand that intuitive intelligence that was trying to move forward. And I kept blocking it out. And I'm going to say I'm a recovered perfectionist. And I know that a lot of people who are intuitive in nature or empathic, sort of lead this people-pleasing, perfectionistic, self-judging life. Everything's about everyone outside of us, not so much about who we are in the moment that doesn't feel right to us. So we block it. And that's what I did for many, many, many years. I was on a religious search. I played it out that way, thinking those were the answers that just never seemed to fit right. I really stumbled. And then I was really doing something that was making me unhappy. I was working in the corporate environment and I had been self-employed for many years prior to that. And as I started working in this environment, I knew I didn't like it. I knew it was crushing my soul in that crazy way. And yet I couldn't make the decision to leave because I thought I was going to, and I know a lot of you will relate to this, I was going to disappoint so many people. The people I worked with, the job that I did, my family, because I was providing so well. Everybody in my life who thought regular jobs were what everybody should do, and it wasn't working for me. And so I started to become majorly stressed. I almost felt like, that proverbial duck, I'm paddling as fast as I can under the water, but nothing's changing on the surface. And that's what was happening to me. So I stressed myself out to the point where I actually had a grand mal seizure. And if you don't know what that is, it's when your entire body seizes up, including your brain. And from that moment forward, my life changed completely. It didn't end up being a fluky thing. It ended up being a condition. It ended up being epilepsy. They call it late onset. I had a really tough time accepting that because I was always going 180 miles an hour with my hair on fire and sometimes backwards on fire. And I could not imagine that my life could be any different. But so I spent the first couple of years pretty angry about this diagnosis. It affected my memory, my language, and my words. And those are my life. I am a writer, a speaker, a teacher. And I, unfortunately, for those first couple of years, had a really tough time stringing two sentences together or keeping a thought in my head. So everything stopped on a dime. So those first 2 years were all about my anger and my denial. This isn't really happening, right? And yet, I was falling asleep at random times and my brain was exhausted. I couldn't sort and I didn't want to tell anybody because I still had that perfectionist view of myself. So I would stumble a lot about things. When I'd speak, my words sometimes would scramble. My kids were so loving at that time. They'd go, "Mom, try that again," because I could hear it here and it would come out incorrectly. So there was a lot for me to really accept. And by that second year, I thought, I can't stay mad forever. And that third year was really all about grieving and letting it all go and letting go of the idea of who I thought I was supposed to be. And that really plunged me into the spiritual journey because at the end of that third year, it had to be, now what? Now where am I going? What's my purpose now? What am I hanging out for? And so I started to allow things. And I had read the Four Agreements, that book was given to me by a coworker when I was still at the corporate environment. I pulled it back out and I started to read it. And this time I read the concepts completely differently. And I started to see things that I didn't see before. I wouldn't allow myself to. And then that started the journey. And I ended up tripping over a mentor who happened to be an apprentice of Don Miguel, the author of the book. And so it really plunged me into these concepts and this way of living and the concepts of freedom. And I started to understand what I had been doing to myself all those years, which was truly living according to the conditions that I agreed to many years ago when I was a child, not knowing any different, picking up societal conditions, gender conditions, all kinds of things. And they weren't really what I wanted or who I really was. So the process, my spiritual journey was twofold. One, I had to start allowing that intuitive intelligence to get in the forefront instead of in the background of my life. And I started listening to the internal voice more than I was listening to the external voices. So that was part of it. And the other part of it was unlearning all of the things that were not helpful to me in this life. And so slowly but surely, I started to let those go and allow whatever was coming and whatever was about to happen. So now my coaching practice, my teaching practice, at that point, everything changed. I couldn't teach it the same way or coach the same way again. Not understanding how easily it is to free ourselves. Not that the work is easy, but that once you understand the concept, you've got sort of that life blueprint to keep going. So my coaching practice just exploded. I do have a center in Southington, Connecticut. It's called the Positive Living Center. It houses and it acts as a business incubator for other holistic practitioners. It's where I found my greatest success up until that point, up until now, which is different again. But yeah, so it's encouraging for me to work now with other coaches and other therapists and helping them see the beauty that they're spreading in the world and how many people they're actually helping, and not only give them a place, but on the other side of my life, this journey now has led into me helping coaches focus on the service of what they're doing. But the other side of that is if nobody knows you're there, then you're kind of twiddling your thumbs waiting for people to walk into your practice. So I cover it on both sides of the coin. One is teaching coaches and certifying them in intuitive coaching skill sets. And the other is actually bringing marketing, which I also have a very long background in, but this is now virtual marketing. This is, online marketing. It's very different. It's that digital age. So teaching clients how to now attract their clients and embark on organic processes that are easy to do every day, so they can do what they love to do so much, which is help other people. So my journey has varied. As a kid, I always knew I was, sensitive or different, but I didn't know what that meant. And I just plunged along like most of us do until we figure it out. Now I have a Facebook group specifically for highly sensitive people. Both my children were highly sensitive. Both of them now use their intuitive intelligence as a normal practice. I think that most of us only need that little push and to learn about how we process information energetically. And once we do, we never look back. Right? You can't open that door and, and squeeze yourself back to the other side. It doesn't happen. Yeah. So yeah, it's been a great journey. But that clunk over the head in 2008 was what started the trajectory in the right direction. So I'm a firm believer that sometimes the worst things that happen to you are actually the thing you needed. Yeah.
Which is exactly what I was getting from what you were saying is, that was a gift. I
didn't see it that way in the beginning.
No, no.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it's led me to the best places in my life, really. It's led me into courageous decisions and a confidence level. And I was confident before, I just wasn't honest about what I really wanted or how I wanted things. And so it gave me the courage to never go back into that place again. I was just talking to somebody about this today, that in order to really move forward, we have to set in place limitations and boundaries for ourselves, those that serve, not inhibit. So, today I don't say yes to everything. Today, if I'm tired, I stop. If I need a day off, I rearrange my schedule. If I'm cranky, I say it out loud. I'm cranky. So I no longer put on this, I have to be perfect and I have to serve every need all the time for everyone. I realize that I have to hear this first. And when I hear this, it's the only way I'm going to serve authentically. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's the most critical thing is that self-awareness that, I can relate to a lot of what you said about growing up and not knowing myself and just conforming to other people's expectations, that they're part of me too. So I can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's brilliant though, and it does take, I've worked with people that, it does take something kind of dramatic to wake you up, if you will. Not everybody.
Well, and I think that sometimes we're getting the nudges for a while and we don't listen. Prior to that grand mal, I was having all kinds of symptoms that I literally ignored. I would be sitting at my desk working and I'd feel like a buzzing in the back of my scalp and I'd go, oh, that was weird. And I'd keep on going. Or I'd be walking along and I'd sort of tip to the side a little bit, like my balance was off. And I'd go, whoo, I have to slow down. And then then my follow-up sentence would be, well, if it's anything, I'll drop. So be careful what you say to the universe. They thought, all right, I guess that's what's going to take. So when it happened to me at first, I thought, no, 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 I'm just getting my stride, right? I had a writing contract with a greeting card company. I was writing a weekly newspaper column. I was just starting to forage my way into the national column category. And when this happened to me, it all stopped on a dime because I couldn't get the flow. I couldn't let anything through. My memory was gone. I had a short-term memory loss for a while. I also couldn't remember what I said to you. So I'd say something, teaching a class, I'd say something, somebody would ask me a question. I think, I don't remember what I said before this. So I had all my little cheat sheets down on my table, and because I'm a anecdotal speaker, and I have my agendas, but I don't necessarily need them, but I needed them then. I'd have them out and I'd look down and I'd go, yeah, that's a really good question. And I'd fake it. So I was an actor for 6 hours a day in those classes because I could not tap into or trust my memory at that time. So there was a physical recovery, and there was a huge emotional recovery that had to happen. There is a happy ending to the story. 2 years ago, they tested me again. They did a 24-hour brain test, and all of that activity, all that epileptic activity is gone. And I was taken off all my meds. Everything was done. And they kept saying to me, how are you doing this? I went to Yale, in fact, and that they were the ones that cleared me. And, they're kind of scratching their heads a little bit. But my answer to that is I think we can all heal in that way, but we have to know what that healing process is actually all about. We also have to know that your body's innate, that it will heal itself, but everything has to be balanced. So all of that energy being off balance creates those blockages in the body, and the body works best when the energy's flowing. So yeah, you had to get it straight up here first.
Right. That's exactly what I practice and what I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Spiritual, the mental, the emotional, all of that feeds into our physical well-being.
Absolutely. I think, what I say to my clients a lot is get out of your head and drop down into your heart. Right. So it's that head is the result really of everything that we hear outside ourselves. And we're trying to figure it all out or make sense of it, or we're afraid, and when fear takes over, there's no clarity. So we have to drop down in our heart and really connect. We have to say, what am I really feeling about this? How does my body feel when I'm thinking about this? How does my heart feeling heavy, or is it feeling light when I think about it? And when we tap in and we come from that, that heart space is that place of love. So when we come from love, now we're non-judgmental, and we're loving and compassionate and tolerant. Everything becomes easy. When we're not in that, when we're up here too long, or we're perseverating on things, right? Now we're in the complete opposite place. We never spend mind chaos on what could go right. We spend mind chaos on things that will go wrong. So if we can reverse that feeling of, all right, what feels good? What do I have to do to feel good? Then we start moving in that direction, no matter what's troubling us. But get out of the head space, because all you're going to do is create imaginary fear. And that becomes bigger than anything that you might have to do for real. So that if you notice it, get out of there, right? And go into your, that's why when you're sitting there watching a movie and you're totally absorbed and you don't think about anything else, because you're absorbed in what's going on, and it feels good to be lost for a while like that, because it quiets everything down. Or we're watching something that we can relate to on an emotional level. And then we are, we're at the point where we can see ourselves in the characters. So that headspace, it's great. We have to think, right? But go here first, go in the heart first. Figure out what it is you need to think about. Then you can think it out. So use your head for solutions, not problems.
Right. No, that's a really good way of saying it. I totally agree. What would you say for someone, if you're working with someone who is having a difficult time getting out of their head? So letting go of those thoughts, maybe some from the past or anything, negative self-talk, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So my process is pretty simple. When I meet somebody who's involved in that kind of chaos, or self-deprecation or worry or anxiety, the first thing I want to find out is, what expectations are they following? What expectations are they trying to fulfill? So some are self-imposed, and some are those conditioned thoughts that other people teach us when we're learning. So I asked the question, what do you think you should be, should have, should be doing, shouldn't have done? I asked them to go into that and just give me a running list of the things they say to themselves all day long. So if we start there, we start to understand what expectations are driving our decisions. So for instance, I had a client once that said, well, I should be married with children by now. And I said, why? And she said, well, I'm 35. And I said, well, where did you get that idea? And she said, well, all my friends are my age and they're all married with children. And then every time I go home for the holidays, the only questions my family says to me are, or asks me are, so did you meet anybody yet? Right? When am I going to have grandchildren? So I said, well, how do you really feel about that? And I asked her to rephrase it. I said, if I really wanted to be married with children by now, I could be. And she thought about that for a minute. And I said, why aren't you? And she said, I don't want to be. So the truth surfaces, and then we can let all that other stuff go. We can say, so that's me. I don't want to be. So now I'm not going to try. I'm not going to feel less than because people are asking me why I'm not. I'm not going to compare myself to my friends anymore because they are married with children and I'm not. I'm going to stay in my lane now and I'm okay. So that guilt is gone, that judgment, self-judgment is gone. And now we can move forward. And then other things are a little harder to unravel. We have to get to the heart of what we think about certain things and why we're imposing that expectation. So if you think about what brings the greatest disappointment in life, it's when we have expectations for an outcome. And those outcomes don't necessarily turn out the way we want them to because not everything's in our control. Matter of fact, there are very few things in our control other than the way we respond. So if we can get a handle on those expectations, we get a handle on what the conditioned thinking is all about. And then we can strip it away until we get to a place where this is how I want to live. This is what I want to do. This is how I want to do it. So some of that conditioning is overt, right? Some of it is opinions and judgments and biases and ways to live. And so as we're growing up and we're being taught these things, we don't even know we have a choice yet. So we just go, oh, okay. So family goes, we don't like those neighbors. We don't talk to them. You're little, you don't know. So you go, oh, okay, I shouldn't. And all of a sudden you have an opinion or a judgment about those people based on nothing but someone else's version. If there are prejudices or discrimination or really polarized thinking in your household, you might not be taught it directly, but you will pick it up by osmosis. You're hearing the language, you're understanding how people feel. And the reason that we tend to do this is because we don't want to lose the acceptance or love of the people that we're counting on. So in order to be loved, we think it's a requirement to agree to what we're hearing or how people are living. And then later we get confused, right? We get into our 20s and we start rebelling a little bit. And then we get into our 40s and 50s and we go, how did I get here? This isn't what I thought it would be. So this is where we've disconnected from our heart space and we've been in that head absorbing everything that's external to us. So the journey, really, the spiritual journey is going inward and going, well, what does this soul really want? What do I feel about this? How will I serve myself best? So if I make this decision, does it bring me closer to who I really am? Or if I make this decision, does it take me further away? And you're far away if you're meeting with resistance in any way, shape, or form. So if your life is a struggle, this is what's happening. There is a conflict going on in you about what your soulfulness really knows you need and want, and what you've decided everybody else wants from you. So you're at war with yourself when you're in conflict, and you know that when things really flow, you feel like you're in that path of least resistance. It's because you finally got real about standing up for you. And a lot of people think that that's got to be a nasty thing to do, and it isn't. It's just being truthful about what your boundaries, what your limits are, what your desires are, and loving yourself no matter what comes out. Right? Just loving the good with the bad. Neutral's in there too. You got to love that. Right? And as soon as you go, well, this is what a perfect person is. It's a disheveled, imperfect person. I can be that. And the next thing you know, we start to love ourselves and accept, and then we don't need all those other people to love and accept us. We've got enough of it here. Mm-hmm. So this is that's the journey, is going inward. That's where peacefulness comes from. That's where that sense of personal freedom comes in. That's where that that restful mind comes in. We talk about mindfulness practices, right? Well, you do them all day, you just don't know, because you may be expecting that mindfulness practice or that meditation to look a certain way. Well, it doesn't. You're meditating when you're cooking. You're meditating when you're taking a beautiful walk outside. You're meditating when you're doing a puzzle. You're meditating when you're engrossed in a movie. You're meditating because you're putting your body in this beautifully relaxed place. You don't have a worry in the world because you're concentrating on the moment that you're in, which is the only one you really have, right? And so if you put all your energy and focus into that one moment, all that worry and anxiety starts to dissipate.
Right.
And then, right? And then you feel like, oh, it's over. I have to go back to real life. Well, no. Everything's real life, right? Everything's real life. So yeah.
Well, that's a beautiful way of describing it, Lisa, and just that being present. And, I feel we could literally talk about this all day. I love the way you express it and just the freedom that comes with the letting go of the expectations. That to me, is such a beautiful place to be.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing I think for people to do, because there's a measure of letting people, that concept of letting people down, or a measure of disappointment that's possible. And so people are reluctant to shake things up in their life. But, if we don't shake it up, then we don't get to those really great places where there's opportunities you haven't even thought about.
Right, the possibility.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Before we're almost running out of time. I know it goes so fast, but I want to hear about your new book, because you told me you were ready to release it. I haven't seen it. What does it look like? Oh,
like this.
Oh, beautiful.
Yes. It's called Hope, Healing, and the Way Forward. It's really about encouragement for extraordinary times. And I was really motivated to write this because we're all going through extraordinary times right now. It's not isolated, right? We're all going through it in our own way. So whether it's the virus, or it's being isolated from your family, or it's politics, or it's having to be interacting this way instead of in person, whatever it is, this is extraordinary for most people. So it's a really simple book. It is it's a quote book, so you can take a look at the photograph. All the photographs and all the quotes are mine. And it's you can use this book in one of two ways. You can read it from cover to cover, or you can get up every day and just point to a page energetically, open it up, and get the message for the day. So it really sort of makes you think about, what am I saying to myself, right? Am I discouraging? Am I judging? Am I not moving forward? Or what's the beauty I can find in this particular day? I think finding the silver lining in everything is an amazing skill. And that's where that positive mind comes from. It doesn't mean that you won't feel the negative or whatever it is that's creating conflict, but your mind will automatically go to a place where there's something good about this. I'm going to find it. Even when we lose people, there's something good that comes from that experience, whether it's all the people that reached out and cared for you while you were grieving, or whether you learned something new about yourself during the experience. There's always something. So no matter how bad something feels, there's something in it that we can extract that helps us move forward. Yeah,
that's true. One of my favorite sayings is, when you change the way you're looking at something, that something changes.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
our power to look at something differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really great talking to you. And so people can just email you about the book.
Yeah.
It's not really, I know it just came out.
It just came out, so I'm waiting for the link. You have the order link. So if you can, in the meantime, feel free to email me, and I'll make sure you get the link when the time comes.
All right. I'm going to put up your contact info again before we sign off, so people can know how to contact you at your website, lisacrofton.com, or Crofton80.
Find me on Facebook, because I do most of my activity on Facebook. And I have a Facebook group called the Highly Perceptive Collective, which is designed to support, educate, and really connect the highly sensitive people that are out there trying to find their way. Yeah.
Wonderful. So find Lisa on Facebook, and find the Transformation Center also on Facebook. Thank you again, Lisa.
Very welcome.
All right. Take care.
Okay. Bye, everybody.